Hello everyone, we should be live. Let us know if everything is working properly. All right, I think it's working. Welcome everyone to our 10th public open source demos, PrestaShop demos. This is our 10th session, so we have a little anniversary right now. Today we have few interested topics for you. We'll start, of course, from agenda. Here you can see today's speakers. I'm Christian Podemski and I'm working in PrestaShop as a tech evangelist. Also, I'm the maintainer of the open source project. And we'll starting from introduction. I will speak about event rules. Then we'll have a couple of demos. First one by Antoine about the future of the PrestaShop open source project. Then we'll have a demo about status of the differentiation project by Pablo and Julie. And last but not least, Jonathan will speak about WebP support in PrestaShop 8. I will start with event rules. First of all, we have a little delay for our stream. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them as soon as possible. Secondly, the event is about the PrestaShop open source project, not PrestaShop SA company. So please bear that in mind. Third, this event is public and recorded. The recording will be publicly available later. And last but not least, please remember to be nice to each other. Let's respect everyone code of conduct of our PrestaShop project. We have our demos for today. The first one is the future of the PrestaShop open source project by Antoine. Antoine, the floor is yours.
So hello. I don't think I have the hand on the presentation, so I think I will have to ask you to go to the next slide, please. Oh, no, it seems that also okay. So this is the title. Could you please go one slide? Right, thank you. So I will just present myself for people who don't know me. I'm open source evangelist at PrestaShop now, and I work for the company for more than 3 years and a half. I work in the industry. I worked also in IT, and I have worked for different kind of field in computer science and information technologies like middleware Java. I worked also for the Eclipse Foundations, and currently I'm driving open source for the PrestaShop company. Next, please. I think that for most people who are looking at this public demo, it's not a surprise to know that the next version of PrestaShop will be called version 8. What is interesting is that if you are following the work on GitHub, you will see that it will be the first version to be company agnostic. So that's the purpose of this talk. We are currently building a true open source version, meaning that PrestaShop has always been open source, but for the first time, what you will download on github.com, I will come back later on it, will not include the usual modules and services that you get when you download PrestaShop.com. Of course, native modules will continue to be part of the project. We are not abandoning that at all. And what is important is that it's not abandoning the project. It's making it, more legal compliant, and it's involving people in the project. That's the purpose. Next slide, please. So today, even if you download PrestaShop on github.com, so the place where the software is developed, and PrestaShop.com, where we usually distribute it, you will get the exact same software in the same zip file. So if you install it, you will get, depending on your geography, your language, different improvements during the installation, like modules from partners, these kind of things. So next slide. The target is to have 2 different files aimed at 2 different targets, I mean 2 different kind of people. The first one on github.com, we will have this new version, truly open source, without any link to the PrestaShop company, that is made mainly for tech people to build solutions for merchants. What does it mean? Is that you get a platform, actually, and it's already something that a lot of agencies and freelance do. They get PrestaShop, they clean from what they don't need, and they add what they usually use for their customers, for their infrastructures, these kind of things. And then we kind of build a kind of edition, a kind of distribution of PrestaShop that they use by default when they start to work for a new customer. On PrestaShop.com, we will have what we currently call edition. This kind of name might change. It can be distribution edition. Currently we use edition. And this is, I mean, what you will usually have on PrestaShop.com, and we will continue to provide that ready to use for merchants with modules, with the marketplace included, with services, etc. So on PrestaShop.com, this does not change. But the target is to go on, I mean, best practices of the open source. It's to take a project and build product and services. Next slide, please. So how does it work? Let's see how usually a project or a foundation is managing the project and how companies and people are working together. On the bottom, you can see that a project, it can be in a foundation or not, but I mean, let's say a project in a foundation, so is providing infrastructure for collaboration. So for example, chat, platform for development, these kind of things. An ecosystem development can be some marketing, branding, etc. Community governance and processes. This is describing how we are supposed to work together on specs, on code review, on, for example, doing a public demo, these kind of things. And IP management and licensing, it's about managing the brand of the project, the code, the license of all the dependencies, all these kind of things. That you mean that when it's well done, you are clean to distribute it, and you guarantee the end user that they can use it respecting the general license of the project. For PrestaShop, for example, it's the open source. It's OSL 3.0. On the middle, in gray, you have the actual open source project. So the foundation is providing, let's say, tooling, if I want to resume that, but the project doesn't hire developer. Foundations usually don't have employees that are contributing to the project, I mean, code or documentation or whatever. It's companies that will actually employ developers, product managers, and other people who will work on the project, contribute on the project. And then, based on that, each company that will contribute to the project will create value-added products and services. And here you are competitor. It means that on the project you collaborate, and then when you face the customer, you build what your customers need. Next slide, please. So I would like to provide a quick example. I use Kubernetes. Not sure that everybody know well what it is, but to make it simple, it's a technology used in the cloud to organize services and containers to run them, stop them, and these kind of things. It's a technology that Google developed for their main use, and they chose to open source it and give it to the Linux Foundation, meaning that they abandon the code, the doc, but also the Kubernetes brand name and logo. Linux Foundation is managing that. And what is the benefits for Google or for the Kubernetes project? Is that at the beginning, so when Google started Kubernetes, they were 100%, they were alone to contribute to the Kubernetes project. But by making it open source, they continue to contribute the same or more. They continue to use it. And they have cost reduction because now they only contribute to 25% of the contributions. And they have the benefits of improvements shared between competitors. Although they have the review from what they do from others. So they know that the quality is improved. And big actors, some are clearly their competitors, you can see in the list on the right, will build on top of the basic Kubernetes a distribution adapted to their customers, to their infrastructures, the technologies they use, and this kind of things. So depending on the cloud you are using, you will see that Kubernetes can be quite different. Next slide, please. So if we apply this schema to PrestaShop, the target is not that the company contribute less. The target is that the company continue to contribute more, but that more and more company and individuals are involved into the contributions. You can see on the right, so in dark blue, you have the contribution of PrestaShop Corps. And today, we are the main contributor as a company. Like something like 80% of the software is written by us. And tomorrow, the target is that more and more companies are involved so that, I mean, on the number of contribution, PrestaShop Corp will continue to contribute and contribute more. But the percentage of contribution by the PrestaShop company will decrease to give more room to other companies. Remember, the project is owned by its authors. So we are currently PrestaShop Corp, the main author, I mean, because we hire the most important team of contributors, but other contributors are also authors of the project. And so there is no contributor license agreement and so on with PrestaShop project. So yes, you are still authors, you will stay author of your contribution to the project. Next slide, please. So, of course, when we speak about contribution to an open source project, most people think about writing code, but actually there's plenty of other stuff that you can do to help a project. Of course, using and telling people that you're using the software is great because it helps to distribute and adopt. And you can, I mean, organize meetups, conferences for the PrestaShop project. For example, the PrestaShop company is organizing the PrestaShop days, but there are plenty of people and organizations who organize meetups in their local area, for example. There's people who are writing specification and designs. We have people who write blogs, who produce video tutorials, these kind of things. And then there's all the gardening done on GitHub, helping community members, for example, on forum, on Facebook groups. And a huge contribution that people forget is that if you report bugs and if you write a good issue with pictures, with a video, it helps a lot to figure out what is the problem. And then people with skills will be able to write codes. You have to keep in mind that in most open source projects, end users don't have the skills to code because it's not their job. If you think about merchants, their skills are about, I mean, selling what they are doing, what they are selling. It's not coding. Okay, next slide. So there is a first step. We will have to engage with partners. Currently, So PrestaShop company is the very main contributor to the PrestaShop open source project. I think it's not a surprise. Everyone knows that. So the target is that we have a true shared development with other actors. So we must identify potential contributors. So there are already contributors, but we need to find more people who want to be involved. With the target to create a board of partners around this project and foster expertise and value contribution, benefit from the power and means of other big actors. We know that we have big users in the ecosystem, so big agencies, of course, who are building lots of stores for merchants, but also big merchants that have dedicated team inside their company that can help for that. So if you know people, if you, who are working for such a company and you want to involve your company in that, please get in touch with me or with your, account manager, or if you know one of, the managers of the PrestaShop company, get in touch with them so we can start to work together in creating this kind of board of partners around the open source project. Next slide, please. What are the benefits of active contribution? So there's two main facts, is that maintaining patches and custom work over new versions cost a lot of time and money. That's mainly why, actually, a lot of PrestaShop stores are not updated. Is that people patches, they don't contribute back to the project. And so when there is a new version, they have to apply again patches, so they don't do it. The second stuff is that project maintenance in terms of sustainability in time, so for the future, it's a requirement that contributors follow common rules because it's a collaborative writing. If each contributors write the way they want, actually it's impossible to maintain the project in the future. So there's two main benefits of active contribution. The first one, like Kubernetes, it's a cost reduction. Bug fix and improvements are delivered in the next version faster, and then you just have to update. Because if your pull request has been validated, you know that your code is good, it has already been approved, and in the next version, you will get just exactly that. You have shared development costs because you have the review, the QA, the CI, and the distribution that are done with other people. And of course, if you contribute features and improvements, so you get also features and improvements by other contributors available to you. The second benefit is becoming a noticeable expert. As I said, there's a learning curve to become a contributor, but when you learn, you get used with the best practices. So what you do is a really high quality job for the merchant. Let's say you are working for an agency or you're working as a tech for a merchant. You know that your work will be high quality and in time it pays very well. The second times is that having experts being a noticeable contributor to the project is a really good sales pitch toward merchants. Because if they face different proposals for creating a shop or maintaining an existing shop, they will have to choose between, they will have to choose a company between the proposals, and we know that they really like when people are involved in the project because it means that they are experts. And this is, as an agency, something that you can very well sell to merchants. Next slide, please. Takes time. Sorry for that. Yes, so what is a path? So we are speaking about the PrestaShop Foundation. There's a lot of work. A lot of work after years of not doing that. We have to, prepare. So we are currently discussing with the OW2 Foundation so that the PrestaShop project and the PrestaShop company can become maybe a member. It could be a first step before a dedicated foundation for the project, because the W2 is, acts as a third party that will review the project, ensure that best practices in open source are used, and you can create work groups and discuss with other companies and other projects on how to make it well. The second, so that was the slide before, is engage member from the ecosystem to create a team, a kind of board of companies or board of members. We have a lot of work to prepare the intellectual property of the PrestaShop project to be sure that it's clean and ready to be shipped independently of the company. So that's a lot of work. It started already. You saw on GitHub, I told that at the beginning of the presentation, that the technical work has already started. And so if we are looking at large for an agenda, so this year, 2021, it's preparation, hypothesis, and so on. We have a validation at the end of the year, and the aim is that decisions are taken at the beginning of next year, and we can launch all that stuff mid of 2022. Next slide, please, Christian. The present and the future. So I will finish this presentation by just showing you, what it implies. So if you remember this slide I used at the beginning of the presentation, I will not review it again, but if Christian goes to the next slide, please, you will see the present ecosystem. So you see that PrestaShop Corp has a particular link with the PrestaShop open source project. That's the past and the present of the PrestaShop software, actually. If we want to look at the future, please go to the next step, Christian. The target is to have the project and that PrestaShop Corp is at the same level than other organizations. If you want to know more about the vocabulary I use, particularly here, it's makers and takers, I invite you to follow Dries Buitert. So it's the lead and creator of Drupal. He is the guy who created makers and takers vocabulary. But let's say that you have people who will contribute back and people who will just consume the project. But at the end, we have what I described in the theoretical slide, is that we will compete and work together on products and services for merchants. Next slide, please. So this is the conclusion of my demo, of my talk. Open source means working together, and what we want is that more people are working on the PrestaShop open source project in a close future. So if you have questions, I think Christian or Pablo gathered questions on YouTube. Let me know, I will try to answer.
Thank you very much, Antoine. I think we can go to the second presentation, and of course, if anyone has any questions, don't hesitate to ask them, to answer them, of course. Now we'll go to the second presentation of today, which is created by Pablo and Julie. Pablo, Julie, I think you can start presenting your screen and start with your presentation.
Thank you so much, Christian. So my name is Pablo Borovic. I'm a VP of Core Engineering here at PrestaShop. And today I have Julie with me, joining me from the product team. If you want to introduce yourself, Julie.
Yes, I'm Julie. I'm a product content manager at PrestaShop company.
Thank you so much. So we're going to present a little recap of the status of the differentiation project, as Antoine explained. Since the project and the company are going to be independent from one another, there are many tasks that we have to perform within the code of PrestaShop to make it evident that this differentiation exists. And today we're going to do a little recap of some of the tasks that we identified that we're going to have to do for this to become a reality. So the 5 steps that we have identified, this is not necessarily all of the work that we need to do, but there are some of the tasks that we identified. The first one is to work on the project services, and I'm going to go into detail afterwards. The second is to create a separate website for the PrestaShop project. The third is to remove the add-ons marketplace from the core because it's a service which is tied to the company and it doesn't belong to the project. The fourth is to build a new modules API. And the fifth is to build a new user documentation portal. And Julie is going to be talking about that later. So let's dive a little bit into the details for this. So the first, as I said, is to work on the project services. As you may or may not know, there are many services that are tied to the project, which provide different information for the live shops which are out there. For example, the API from PrestaShop, the first one is um, a certain number of services that are related either to exchange rates, which are updated daily. They're related to upgrade information and other stuff. I-18N, which is internationalization, it's related to translations that can be translation packs that can be downloaded into production shops. Add-ons, which is, as you can imagine, related to the marketplace. We have doc, which is the user docs, and there are many more as well. So some of these will be completely removed from the project. For example, add-ons, which is related to the marketplace, doesn't belong into the project, so it will go away, at least for the next version. Of course, we're going to maintain this for existing shops. Some of these APIs will be rethought and redesigned to be more scalable and to provide better service to existing and new shops. And the ones that will be kept will be moved into the sphere of the project and away from the company, and will be redirected to PrestaShopProject.org, which is our new current domain for the project. So we're working on this. This is a big project in which I don't think that we're going to be doing everything in the first step. But of course, the first step is actually to rename everything and then to strip the parts that don't belong to the project. The second task is to create a project website, an independent site, so that we can have a different content compared to what we have on PrestaShop.com. PrestaShop.com is the website which belongs to the company, and this one, PrestaShop-project.org, is the one that belongs to the project itself. And here you can find some important information related to the project, like documentation, like download link for the sources, a link to GitHub, how to contribute, the maintainer's guide, and more resources that we're going to be adding, maybe moving from DevDocs into this site. And in the future, you're probably going to have download links for native modules and maybe more. So the website is already online. You can visit it and browse it. And I hope that you find it interesting at least. And this is where you will be able to download PrestaShop, the next version of PrestaShop in the future. The third task is to remove the marketplace from the core. Add-ons is actually very deeply rooted into PrestaShop's code because they were one single thing, PrestaShop and the project named PrestaShop. And you can find traces of the marketplace everywhere. For example, the module catalog it shows the modules which are actually present but not installed in the shop, and the ones which come from the marketplace, they're mixed up. So we're going to unmix them so that you will only get the modules from the project there and the ones that you have already present on your shop. Same with the theme catalog. There's the module management screen as well in the back office. There are advertisements in the installer that we're going to remove. There are dependencies from the company which are installed during the install process. There's information from add-ons which is coupled in modules and on in-place data. There's information which is hooked into back office pages by modules that we're going to remove. There are links to the marketplace and other services from PrestaShop directly in the back office that we're going to remove, and much more. So it's a very big task, and we are already in progress. I can't give you the detail right now, but you can always go to GitHub and find the details of the individual tasks there. The fourth task is to build a new modules API, because we're going to remove the add-ons marketplace from the core. We need some way to distribute the native modules if you don't have them, or if you uninstall them. And then if you have them, you need a way to download upgrades easily, or at least be aware that these upgrades exist. So we need an API to distribute that, and one that we're going to be using as well to distribute PrestaShop itself for the upgrades. So this is a neutral API which belongs to the project. It's no longer tied to the marketplace, and it's handled 100% in the open via GitHub. It will be tied to a CDN so that you can download the modules from there and notify when a new version of the project is or a project module is available. And it will also display the information about which module is available for any given version of PrestaShop, which is something that you can't know right now. And this is in the design stage for the moment, but it's also one of the things that we're going to be working for the next version. And for the fifth task and final, I'm going to leave Judy to explain it to us.
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. So thank you for listening to me today. I'll be very quick. I only have one slide to present. I'm here today to talk about the new user documentation portal that is going to be implemented as part of the differentiation project. So right now, the user documentation is hosted on Confluence Atlassian. And a while ago, the content was copied to a new documentation tool that is called Gitbook. Maybe some of you already know this tool. It's used by many companies and open source projects. For example, the Linux Foundation uses this tool. As Antoine rightly pointed out earlier, to contribute to the project, you don't need to know how to code. You can contribute to the project by translating or documenting features. So it was important to have a tool that would be usable by both tech and non-tech oriented people. For example, product managers, designers, content managers, or translators. But don't worry, if you prefer to use GitHub, you'll still be able to use GitHub because the content will be synchronized between Gitbook and GitHub. So you can choose the way of contributing you prefer. We also took on the opportunity to improve the documentation content itself. So we tried to improve a few pages like the order management documentation, the multi-store, the front office, and the translation page. It's a work in progress. There are a lot of pages in the documentation, but I'm working on it. And if you want to contribute, you can also do so. So feel free to contact me. We have a special email address that is documentation@prestashop.com. So maybe you can try Gitbook. So maybe you can translate the documentation. It would be a nice way to start contributing to the documentation. And finally, about the next steps, you can. We still need to synchronize Gitbook with the contextual help window in the back office and set up 301 redirects. So it's a work in progress, and I hope we'll be able to share with you this new documentation so that you can share your feedback. That's it. Thank you.
Julie, Pablo, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank
I
you.
think we can go to the next one, which is about WebP support. Jonathan, are you ready?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Sorry, I have a poor connection, so that's why you won't see my my pretty face today. So today I'm going to explain to you one of the new feature that was integrated in the 8.0 version, the next one. It's about the image format, and now PrestaShop can handle the WebP format as well. So just a quick summary about what's the interest of this format for those who don't know about it. It's been developed by Google in 2010. It's mainly supported with all the browsers today, with 95% covered for this support. So you can use it pretty much safely, and the 5 remaining percent are not the most used browsers. So it's a relatively safe format to use. And the biggest advantage of this one is that it's 30% lighter than JPEG with the same quality of image. So basically, we'll win some time with loading, which can have some impact on the look and feel of your website for your customers. And of course, it can also have some impact regarding the SEO of your website, since Google also tracks the loading time. So as we say, it will be usable in PrestaShop 8.0 in almost everywhere except for the favicons, which doesn't support this image format. Next slide, please. So when we say we handle WebP, it's in two different ways. First, you can of course use it as a source when you upload your images in the product categories page or anywhere in the back office. Previously, you could not use a WebP format as your source, so now it's allowed. Even if you don't use it in your website, because the resizing behavior of PrestaShop is also configurable, and you can decide which format will be used inside your shop. So for those who don't know about this configuration, you can go into design and image settings, and this is where you can select which format is used throughout all the shops. So you can mainly use between JPEG, PNG, and WebP now. So regardless of the format of your source, all the images that will be resized for the different use cases of the images throughout the shop will use the same with the same image format, and you can now also use WebP as well. So that's basically how you can configure it, and nothing much more interesting for this feature, but it can have some really good impact for many shops. And finally, last slide. So you can also use the WebP into the image. So in the default image, the only image that we have is in the logo. But it's also good to know if you decide to integrate some images inside your image. Know that as of today, 97% of the email clients handle WebP image support. So as you can see in the smaller details on the right, some web browsers don't handle it natively, but they have some proxy that allow to still display it. So that's why the coverage is nearly 100% for this image format as well. So feel free to use it in emails as well. And that will finish my short demonstration. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. I think we can move to questions and answers. I will show everyone presenting today. Do we have any questions today?
I think that we don't have any questions so far. Perhaps we can speak about something else. So as you know probably already, the next version of PrestaShop is going to be PrestaShop 8. It's a new major version, and we are working on the announcement right now. There will be an article published on Build, our blog. If you don't know about Build, it's build.prestashop.com, which is probably one of the sites that we're going to rename into prestashop-project.org in the near future, where we'll be explaining why we're working on a major version and what's going to happen to 1.7 afterwards. And there's a very bright future, I think, in front of us for PrestaShop 8 and the versions that will come after. So the new version will be focusing on the differentiation from the company, on the refactored project page that we started on 178, on the compatibility with PHP 8 and 8.1, the latest available version of PHP, and the upgrade to Symfony 4.4, which is the latest available LTS version of Symfony. Perhaps, Christian, you would like to add anything else?
I think it's exciting time for PrestaShop. I'm looking forward, as every developer using PrestaShop, to see V8. It's really exciting. And remember, everyone watching, if you have any questions to us, you can join our Slack, open source Slack channel. The link to the invitation to Slack channel is available on PrestaShopProject.org. I think Pablo shared this link already on the chat. If not, let's do it. And I think if we don't have any questions, we can end today's demo. And of course, please join us for the next demo. It will be, of course, next month. So I think we can finish. Thank you everyone for watching, and see you next time.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.